Sorry.
Need anything? No?
Yeah, I was, in the Marine Corps, I was taught not to sleep without anything covering my grate. So, as we used to call it, so I apologize if I'm not getting all the protocols correct. Can I get somebody to just take one of these and pass them across the road, please? Thank you. Want to meet you. So my name is Derek Collins. I'm the program manager for the Firewatch. The Firewatch is Florida's effort to end veteran suicide. Is anybody here familiar with the program? How many of you are already watchstanders? Okay, well, after today, you will be trained as a watchstander. So I'm just let me just express how happy I am to be here, how honored I am to be here. I'm a big believer in community organizations that are built around a common cause. I think that's the decline of community organizations is what's led to an overall decline in our nation. So I'm happy to be anywhere that keeps that community built together. I'm born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida. In 1990, at the tender age of 17 years old, I got on a Amtrak train up to Charleston to pick up folks from all over the country to drive down to Parris Island, South Carolina, and stand on some yellow footprints. I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps Air Wing, the bulk of that up in Beaufort, South Carolina. You join the military hoping to get it as far away from possible as home, and I ended up just 3 hours up the road from it. So you know how it works. I came back in 1995 and came back home to Jacksonville. Went down to Mayport and met my wife, who was a sailor on the USS O'Bannon at the time. I took folks that went down to Mayport, picked up a sailor. I was very lucky it was her. So I got to be a Navy spouse for a little while, and I never let her forget that her boat was named after a Marine as well. So I keep doing that. So that's just kind of a little bit about me. But what I'm going to talk about today is something is I really don't want to be here talking about this. And it's veteran suicide and how to prevent it. I don't think we have to do a whole lot of convincing that veteran suicide is an issue. We know it's a national crisis, and if you can't see the screen, that's okay. I'll just speak louder. But we do have a short video we're going to watch here in a few minutes. But I just want to go over some things. So what we know is that veteran suicide is a national crisis. As of 2019, the VA says 6,261 veterans across the United States had committed suicide in the year 2019. What we know about veteran suicide is that by count, male veterans are 1.3 times higher in the count, but women veterans are about 2.2 times, their rate is higher as well. And as we've seen, we know from the Department of Veterans Affairs, their demographic data, over the next 10 to 15 years, the overall veteran population will be declining as the Vietnam cohort moves on to their final station. But during that time, during the overall decline, the female veteran demographic actually increases as more have entered the service and more have been placed into to other occupations outside of the traditional ones as well. So we know that's becoming an issue, and also with the VA's lack of, I don't want to sound critical of the VA, but they haven't caught up to the fact that female veterans require different care sets and a different comfort level than male veterans, even though they have done a particularly good job with male veterans as well. But we know it's a national crisis, and there's usually a number that's thrown out when it talks about veteran suicide per day. Does everybody know what that number?
22.
So that's the number they say. 2 years ago, the VA was told you need to get that number down, and they got it down to 17 per day. And how they did that was by eliminating Guard and Reserve from the calculation. And as we know that over the past 20 years, we've actually been using the Guard and Reserve a whole lot to deploy overseas. Judging by how we've gathered our data, we went and got the data for the state of Florida. How that data is calculated, I suspect the number is actually higher than 22. And I'll go into that in just a minute. So we know it's a national crisis. We know it's a state crisis. Florida is the third largest veteran population in the United States. It's California, Texas, and Florida. Again, VA's own demographic data shows that within the next 5 to 10 years, Texas will become number 1, Florida will become number 2, California drops to number 3 because everybody's leaving California and they're coming to Texas and Florida. And why not? It's an opportunity. But in 2020, the total population of Florida was 20,901,636. And I drove through Orange Park today, and I feel that all 20 million were in Orange Park as I tried to get through here. The percentage of veterans in the state of Florida is 8.9% and growing, especially here in Northeast Florida. The number of veteran suicides in Florida in 2020 was 542 across the state. Compared to the general population, deaths by suicide per 100,000 people is 15.62. Among deaths per 100,000 veterans is 30.59. So, listen, as a veteran, I like being better than everybody else. I like beating anybody that never served in anything, but I really think this is an area where we can just kind of give up on that. Let the other side take the lead on that. But it's also a local crisis as well. What I try to explain to folks when you look at the data again, Hillsborough and Miami-Dade have the largest veteran population per county. But when you factor in the 5 counties of Northeast Florida, we have the largest veteran population. And I tell folks that when you think of Northeast Florida, you have to think of all 5 counties when it comes to veterans. Born and raised in Duval, I live there down up on the north side, but I realize that Duval, over the years, has become a place where people drive to work, and in the evening they drive out of the county to go live in the other county. So we're really all connected that way. And just these are just some numbers. From 2015 to 2020, how many per year just in Northeast Florida alone. On our website, if you go under the firewatch.org under data, you can look at each county in Florida and look at some statistics. We break down by several demographic factors or just total count. On the back end of it, I can look in by census tract to see where the hot spots are in each county. I've been spending a lot of time coming out to Middleburg, which I'm very glad that it was held here today, because right now in Clay County, the bulk of veteran suicides in the past 10 years have taken place between Middleburg and Penny Farms. So I'm doing a lot of stuff, trying to get a lot of stuff going here in Middleburg. Next month I'll be out at First Baptist here of Middleburg doing the same training for their congregation. We're also partnering with the Clay County Public Library System to do some adult education series with that. And I'm trying to reach out to businesses to train them on this thing. So for the next couple months, Clay County, especially the Middleburg area, is where it's getting a lot of my attention right now. But that's what we do because we got the data. The VA, the last time they published solid data was in 2018 with a few amendments for 2019. We had to pay a company to actually go through the state of Florida and pull the veteran suicide data. And we just published our 2020 data. So we're a year and a half ahead of the VA. On their data. So knowing this, that veteran suicide is a problem, but it's also a preventable problem. A gentleman up in Duval County, he's a city councilman named Rory Diamond. He's the head of Canines for Warriors. Have y'all heard of Canines for Warriors? He was looking at his program at the time, and over 700 people that have gone through the program at Canines for Warriors, they've only had 1 suicide in that entire time, which is phenomenal. So he sat down with a gentleman that you may know or may have heard of, General Mike Fleming. They got down to the office of the whiteboard and said, hey, what can we do? How can we do this? We're tired of waiting on the VA. Top-down approaches don't seem to work. We know that community-based solutions is what works. And so what they did is they kind of mapped out and created the Firewatch program. Councilman Diamond then went to the commissions in the other counties and formed an interlocal agreement between the 5 counties to create and fund the Firewatch as well. So basically, we know that in 2019, 6,261 veterans died by suicide. In 2019, 636 of those were here in Florida. But we know that suicide is often preventable with early intervention. Just like the American Heart Association with heart attacks back in the 50s, men started dying of heart attacks at an extraordinary rate. The American Heart Association comes along and says, hey, why don't we teach people the signs and the symptoms of what's happening with a heart attack? So that way we can get them to the hospital earlier prevention, save lives. And I tell you, I teach a 5th grade Sunday school class at my church. This morning I asked them, I was like, hey guys, just out of curiosity, if I told you my left arm was numb, or I felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest, what would you say? And every single one of them said what? Probably having a heart attack, which should get you to a doctor, right? What we've done is with the Firewatch is we've developed a very similar thing to help people be aware, to know the signs, to identify, and then most importantly, what do you do with somebody that's in crisis before they get to that point. So our vision is simply to end veteran suicide in the state of Florida. And how we do this, we build an upstream, online, and in-person early intervention network of 10,000 plus veterans, civilian champions, businesses, and community organizations that are trained to identify risk factors of veterans in crisis and to direct those veterans to the community resources they require. Early intervention is the key. So what we did is we kind of adopted the CDC suicide prevention logic model. When the Firewatch began, the first thing we did is, okay, we can't tell people how to help folks if they don't know where to send them. So we created our resource guide. Right now our resource guide is nearing 500 resources in Northeast Florida, just outside of the normal VA and suicide crisis line, stuff like that. But once you get somebody past the crisis, how do you mitigate the triggers? Was it joblessness that triggered it? Well, we have employment resources that we embedded on there. Is it substance abuse? We have several organizations that treat for substance abuse and rehab. Is it mental health? Is it clothing? Is it just some sort of assistance they need? We went and gathered up these resources and put them together. Right now, like I said, it's nearly 500, just specific to Northeast Florida. As of September, the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs, the state of Florida was challenged by the VA to come up with a community-based solution to veteran suicide. So Tallahassee goes, well, there's this program over in Jacksonville we need to take a look at. And said, let's make this a statewide program instead of just having to reinvent this. So now we're going statewide, so our resource guide is starting to shape up to become a statewide resource guide as well. Then we developed the Watchstater program, which is what I'm sharing with you today. That's our keystone program. Then we now moved into our Veteran Safe Place program. Again, like I said, this morning, this afternoon, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir right on this. So what we've done is we partner with businesses, churches, other organizations, not necessarily veterans-centric, to bring this training to them. A lot of companies love to hire veterans, but they don't know what to do with veterans once they get them. And so what we're doing is we're making the case of why, as a company, you want to hire veterans to contribute to your bottom line. Here's how you need to protect your veterans, protect that asset that you have. So that's what I'm doing. It's in a place in Orange Park. It's a manufacturing company that asked us to come in to train their entire staff on that. I'm partnering with First Baptist Church Middleburg to train their staff and their congregation. Not necessarily there's a lot of veterans in there, but they're not specifically veterans. To start making the case of why we need to be on the lookout for veteran suicide. Then we have our other outreach programs we're developing. On the backside, we've done the crisis intercept mapping, gathered our data, Governor's Challenge. We've started our micro grant program, where we're actually sending grants to organizations that specifically to combat veteran suicide, those that help veteran suicide. And I have a list. I can give that to the secretary at some point, show who was our grant recipients last year. I know like the Veterans Council of St. Johns County got a grant. There's a few other organizations around in the 5 counties that received the grants to do that as well. So what is the Watchstater program? We've all stood watches, right? I mean, you stood a fire watch. Never saw a single fire. I stood many a fire watch, right? But, huh?
We seen the fires.
Yeah. Well, I never saw one, so it's like I lose an hour of sleep to watch this stuff. But what happens if you don't have somebody on watch? It's the time that a fire is usually when the fire starts, right? Yeah. So that's the same concept. So we're a community network designed to connect veterans to the resources they need before they slip in crisis. Here's what we know, just by the numbers, is that right now, this very moment, there's a veteran out there that's on a path. And they're on the path to making a very hard decision. What we want as an organization is to put as many people along that veteran's path as possible, so that hopefully when they encounter them, they'll knock them off that path. And that's why we take this as a community-based solution. Everybody at the end of this, will be burdened with the knowledge of what to do. I can't make you do it, okay? I can't be everywhere you can to do it for you. But that's the goal, is to place as many people as possible along that path, and that better makes that decision. So how we do this, we want to make this as simple as possible. I tell you, this is so easy, I can do it. Is that it involves a short online learning course, which I'm going to play a 15-minute video for you, which is our learning course, to recognize the risk signs of veterans in crisis and how to get them the help they need. Other veteran service organizations are our partners. We do not replicate them. We're not out to reinvent the wheel. We are not competing against any other organization. We are partnering. We want to direct veterans to organizations that can get folks help they need. Okay, it makes no sense for me to recreate something that people are already doing out there. I want to be the connector. I want this community of watch centers to be that connector to these other organizations. And anybody can qualify by going to the carwatchcenter.org. You can do this online, but I'm bringing you this training today, so you won't have to go online and do it. But I'll explain more in a minute. So how to become a watch standard? First, we're going to watch a video called Save. Then I'm going to talk about the resource guide. Every one of you should have gotten the pledge form. Let me tell you about this. This is not a legally binding document, okay? I'm not going to track anybody down because it didn't attend to veterans things a month or didn't do something, right? What I know, here's what I know, here's why we do the pledge form. It's something about, and we replicate this online, but I don't like the online replication because it's just something about actually physically taking a pen and putting your name on a piece of paper, which almost guarantees that you will not leave this information in this room, that you'll take it out there with you when you leave today. It's something about that commitment as well. So and then we'll talk about, we're going to get some stuff out of this today that we're going to send you. We have a certificate that you can print out that's really nice. When I go to a business, I encourage their staff to print their certificate out and make HR put it into your record. And then also we're going to send you to include an address. And if you want a place, you don't have to put your home address, you can just put your post address. We'll send out, we're going to mail a letter to you along with a wallet card that kind of helps you through this some of this training to remember it, because I know I can't remember everything. And I've seen this video like 12 times this week. And then also a wristband, a silicone wristband, and a little decal for your vehicle. Things like that. So now, if this was a mostly civilian gathering, I will play this video called 15 Things Veterans Want You to Know. You'll be surprised how little folks in this community understand veterans. I had a conversation earlier today about some things that I would say that has gotten me hauled in front of HR in many organizations many times. That was just meant nothing because I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran, right? For almost 30 years, I never fully understood why I would get so frustrated with the people I worked with. And until 2 years ago, I heard there was a gentleman by the name of Simon Sinek, and he wrote a book called Leaders Eat Last. Have y'all ever heard of that book? It's a great book. This guy went and spent some time with the Marine Corps Officer Candidate School in Quantico. That's where he got the title from, the Leaders Eat Last. And he summed up this. And once he said this, it's like something clicked. This is why I'm so frustrated with all the people I work with. Even though I've been out for 30 years, the last MRE had already passed. I don't think I have any. I think I have one BDU jacket left from my time in that my kid wears now, because obviously I'm the guy. If I showed you a picture of me when I was in the Marine Corps, I'd be the guy that ate that guy. And here's what he said. He said, in the military, you are taught, you are trained, you are wired that the greatest thing you can do is to sacrifice yourself so that others can be successful. In fact, the highest order, you've all read the Medal of Honor. Most of these guys, that's how they get it, is by sacrificing themselves. Then you take these same people and put them in corporate America, where the rule is you sacrifice others so that you can be successful. And when I heard that, I was like, my gosh, now I understand why I'm so frustrated with these people. Have you ever had to try to mentor a supervisor on a job because that's what you were taught to do in the military? It's like some of the best officers I ever had, some E6, E7, E8, got a hold of that as a butter bar lieutenant and mentored that guy. corporate America, they don't like it, your bosses don't like it when you try to mentor them and help them out. Okay, so it's frustrating. So I kind of give each other this video so they can kind of understand why you're having, what you're dealing with when you're dealing with a veteran. And a lot of them don't know those 15 things. But I'm not going to, because we're in the 15, I'm not going to do it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the save training for you. If you give me just a minute, I got to go over and boot it up, make sure everything connects. This is about a 15-minute video. It was created by our partners. We have a partnership with a company called PsychArmor that does the training. When you become a watchstander, we actually give you access to not only this video, but several other videos on the PsychArmor portal. This was originally developed for the VA. The VA shelved it. We started using it, and now the VA uses it. I'm not going to say that it's a coincidence, but you know, it's successful. So if you give me just a minute, let me plug it in, make sure the internet works, and we'll watch this.
Generosity in making this course possible. Hello, and welcome to this presentation of SAVE, #BeThere. This course is brought to you by the Department of Veterans Affairs in collaboration with PsychArmor Institute. My name is Megan McCarthy, and I am the Deputy Director for Suicide Prevention in the Veterans Health Administration, Office of Mental Health and Suicide Prevention. Our hope for this course is that each of our learners will recognize that we all have a role in suicide prevention. Each of us has the opportunity to be that one person who makes a difference. The person who asks the question that can save a veteran's life, or the life of any person struggling with thoughts of suicide. By the end of this course, the learner will be able to, first, develop a general understanding of the problem of suicide in the United States. Second, understand how to identify a veteran who might be at risk for suicide. And third, know what to do if you identify a veteran at risk. Suicide is a serious public health problem in the United States. Every 12 minutes, someone dies by suicide in our country, making suicide the 10th leading cause of death among Americans. In America, suicides among veterans have received a great deal of attention in recent years. The estimated number of veterans who die by suicide each day in America has changed from year to year, but several factors about veteran suicide have remained constant. For instance, veterans account for 18% of adult suicides in the United States, even though veterans comprise only about 9% of the U.S. adult population. Another thing we know for sure, all branches of the military and the VA are absolutely committed to preventing suicide among our country's heroes. So what is SAVE? SAVE is a VA suicide prevention training intended to help everyone who cares about veterans understand the facts about suicide. SAVE helps people identify a veteran at risk, and it provides information about what to do to help a veteran in distress. We all have a role in suicide prevention, and each one of us can help save the life of a veteran who is struggling. The first step is to understand some of the most commonly held beliefs about suicide and understand what is true and what is a myth. With this knowledge, we can all be there and make a difference in the lives of the veterans around us. Number one, if somebody really wants to die by suicide, he or she will find a way to do it. This is absolutely not true. The fact is that making one form of suicide less convenient does not lead people to just attempt a different way. In fact, it can lead to a decrease in suicide. Many studies show that most, but not all, suicidal crises are relatively brief, lasting minutes to hours. So if we can build in time and space between the decision to attempt suicide and the ability to do so for just a few hours, we will save lives. In addition, we know from decades of research that the overwhelming majority of people, around 90%, do not substitute one method for another if they survive a suicidal crisis. That is, 90% of people do not go on to die by suicide if their first attempt does not result in death. We know that the overwhelming majority of people who die by suicide have a diagnosable mental health condition at the time of their death. SAVE is about preventing the crisis before it happens. If you can learn a little bit about the best ways to encourage a veteran in your life to get the help he or she needs and get connected with potentially life-saving treatment before a potential crisis, you have made a difference for that person. Please don't be afraid to talk to veterans in your life who might be at risk about the importance of safely storing weapons and medication. Open communication and collaboration can be the key to saving someone's life. Number 2, asking about suicidal thoughts or plans may lead someone to take his or her life. This is also not true. The truth is that asking someone you are concerned about if he or she is thinking about suicide does not create suicidal thoughts. On the contrary, asking this simple question gives people permission to talk about their thoughts and feelings. Sometimes it can be just one person who cares enough to ask, "How are you?" and then takes the time to really listen to the answer. That saves a life. Number 3, there are talkers and there are doers. You've probably heard this one too, that people who really want to take their lives don't talk about it, and that the people who are talking about it aren't going to do it. This is absolutely not true. Research demonstrates that most people who are considering suicide show signs of serious distress and/or talk specifically about death or suicide. The truth is that many people who die by suicide have communicated that they were in crisis, that they had suicidal thoughts or plans to someone in their lives. In other words, many people who die by suicide or attempt suicide have given some clue or warning that they have been struggling a lot. Someone who talks openly about suicide provides others with an opportunity to help before the situation gets worse. Suicide threats should never be ignored and should always be taken seriously. No matter how casually the person speaks about it, statements like, "You'll be sorry when I'm dead," or "I can't see any way out," may indicate very serious suicidal feelings. Number 4, a person won't die by suicide if he or she has just made plans for a vacation, has young children at home, made a verbal or written promise to someone, or knows how much he or she is loved by his or her family. This is also not true. While planning for the future or having loving family and children at home can sometimes be protective factors for suicide, the intent to die can arise suddenly and override rational or logical thinking. Veterans who are experiencing suicidal thoughts and plans must be taken seriously and referred to a clinician who can evaluate and treat them. SAVE provides a way for all of us to act with care and compassion if we encounter a veteran in distress. Think SAVE to remember the important steps in preventing suicide. S is for signs. Learn to recognize the signs that indicate someone may be thinking about suicide. A is for ask. Ask the most important question of all. V is for validate. It is crucial to validate the veteran's experience and make him or her feel understood and supported. E is for encourage and expedite. It's important to encourage veterans to get treatment and to expedite them getting help. Let's go through each of these steps in more detail. S is for signs. There may be several signs or clues that you can observe in veterans' thoughts, feelings, and behavior that a veteran is considering suicide and needs our help. Hopelessness. This is feeling like there is no way out. Anxiety, agitation, insomnia, or mood changes. Feeling there is no reason to live. Rage or anger. Increasing alcohol or drug use. Withdrawal from family or friends. In addition, any of the following signs require immediate medical or emergency intervention. Thoughts of hurting or killing him or herself. Looking for ways to die. Talking about death, dying, or suicide. Self-destructive or risk-taking behavior, especially including alcohol, drugs, or weapons. A is for ask. It is vital that we all know to ask the most important question of all. Are you thinking about killing yourself? Some things to consider. Do ask the question whenever you have seen the warning signs we've discussed here. Do ask the question in a natural way. Let it be part of the conversation as if it were a natural thing to talk about, because it is. This reduces stigma and helps the veteran feel more comfortable talking about it with you. Please don't ask the question in a way that sounds like you're expecting a no answer. For instance, you aren't thinking of suicide, are you? Please don't wait to ask the question until the veteran is, or you are, leaving. Give yourself time to talk about this. It's that important. Other things to think about. Stay calm. Listen more than you speak. Make eye contact and keep it. Look confident. Don't argue with the veteran. Let your body language be open and comforting. Make your comments encouraging and supportive. And be honest, this is a difficult situation and the answer is not a quick fix, but there is help available. V is for validate. Validate the veteran's experience. Talk openly about suicide. Listen and allow the veteran to talk, no matter what he or she is feeling. Acknowledge that the situation is serious, but do not judge. Reassure the veteran that help is available and you will help him or her find it. E is for encourage treatment and expedite getting help. What should I do if I think a veteran is suicidal? Do not keep it a secret. Do not leave the veteran alone. Try to get the veteran immediate help from his or her doctor, from the nearest ER, or from 911. Reassure the veteran that help is available. You can call the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255. Press 1 for veterans. Text the Veterans Crisis Line at 838-255. Or visit veteranscrisisline.net and click on the upper right corner of the screen to enter the confidential Veterans Chat. The responders at the Veterans Crisis Line are there to serve all veterans and anyone who is trying to help a veteran. Please provide this number to any veteran or friend or family member of a veteran. A few important safety issues to cover. Never negotiate with someone who has a gun. Please get to safety and call 911. If the veteran has taken pills, cut him or herself, or done harm to him or herself in some other way, call 911 immediately. Here are some important resources to know about. VA clinical and suicide prevention support. The Veterans Health Administration provides specialty inpatient and outpatient mental health services at its medical centers and community-based outpatient clinics. All mental health care provided by VA supports recovery, which is striving to enable a person with mental health problems to live a meaningful life in the community and achieve his or her full potential. In addition, each VA medical center has a suicide prevention coordinator to ensure veterans get connected with the care and support they've earned. Visit the resource locator under the Get Help tab of the veteranscrisisline.net website to find your nearest resource. There are many, such as the Suicide Prevention Coordinator, VA Medical Center, or vet centers. Vet centers are VA community-based centers that provide a range of counseling, outreach, and referral services. They have access to VA medical records, but their records are kept separate. Make the connection. This is a one-stop online resource where veterans and their families can confidentially explore information on their own time about mental health symptoms, challenging life events, and mental health conditions. On this site, veterans and their families and friends can learn about available resources and support. In addition, many veterans tell their own stories here, reducing stigma and normalizing what veterans might be feeling. PTSD-specific veteran resources. Each VA medical center has PTSD specialists who provide treatment for veterans with PTSD. This includes the PTSD Coaching app, which allows phone users to manage their symptoms, links them with local sources of support, and provides information on PTSD. Finally, there's the Veterans and Military Crisis Line, which has responders working around the clock to answer calls and texts or chats from veterans who need them. For all of you who might be gatekeepers for our veterans in so many important roles in their lives, you have the ability to save a life. Each of us, if we act with confidence and calmness and remember SAVE, can make the difference that gives a veteran hope in a time of crisis. Remember the steps of SAVE. Know the signs. Ask the question. Validate the veteran's feelings. Encourage getting help and expedite treatment. Thank you for taking the time to learn this vital information. Armed with SAVE, you can be the person who makes that all-important difference in a veteran's life. Thank you for all you do. Be there.
Thank you for taking the time to learn about this important topic and about our nation's military, veterans, and their family members. If you have any questions about this course or need assistance,
So in 1993, I was a senior lance corporal, and they had one roommate, and we had a 3-man room. And then one day, about a month before I'm getting ready for my very first deployment, I'm going to deploy to Japan, the good part of Japan. So I was really looking forward to it. They bring this private to my room, which is unusual because most everybody, especially in the air wing, or at least, lance corporals at that point, this guy was private. And what had happened is he'd just been released from the brig because Bobby had a problem being where he needed to be on time. So he had a lot of unauthorized absence to the point where they decided, and I tell civilian audiences, like, can you imagine being thrown in jail because you were constantly late to work? And they're like, well, yeah, the military does that stuff. We know that. And so I kind of hung out with Bobby. We'd go out drinking. I would have to drive because he had lost his license, which should have been a flag for me. But at 21 years old, that as a Marine, it's nothing, So one weekend, I came back to Jacksonville because it was very easy to get here. I come back late Sunday night. We have formation Monday morning down at the squadron headquarters. Bobby's not there. My other roommate's on leave. So I go to bed. About 3 a.m., Bobby comes in. He crawls into his rack. Alarm goes off at 6 o'clock. I get up, start getting ready. Tell Bobby, get up, man. You don't want to be late. So he doesn't get up. I go and do my stuff, and I come back out and say, Bobby, you need to get up. You don't want to be late for formation. He just rolls over in his rack. And as a typical person, I go, dude, that's all on you, right? You know where you're supposed to be. And I've tried to get you up. I'm not going to drag you out of bed, man. So I leave. I come back to my barracks for lunch, and the way these barracks were, they They have balcony walkways, and we're in enclosed hallways. I get up to the second floor of the November barracks in Beaver, South Carolina, and there's guys in cheap suits and bad haircuts and mustaches out in front of my door to my room. And for those of you that don't know or never experienced it, that is what the NCIS crew looked like back in the day. I wasn't dealing with Gibbs and McGee and DiNozzo, okay? These guys were not that slick. So I walk up to my door and I say, what's going on here? And this NCIS sergeant looks at me like, I didn't know they were NCIS at the time. He's like, you know, what's it to you? And man, I was like, it's like something out of a movie, man. All cocky, I tapped my nameplate on the window. Like, that's who I am, this is my room. He shows me his badge, says, come with me. So we walk out to a common area. And he then explains that sometime between, when I left my room and just arrived, that Bobby had retrieved a pistol he had hidden up in the drop ceiling, gone into the head in a room, and killed himself. And then, of course, because this is NCIS, they started interrogating me, because I'm the roommate. Did you know he had a pistol? Did you know it? Now, if that serial number we run it comes back, that's not going to come back to you, because they're trying to pin it on somebody. But then, as the course of the conversation, I began to learn some things about Bobby I didn't know. I didn't know that he was under mental health care at the time. I didn't know he was taking a particular type of medication that you should not be drinking while taking this medication. I didn't know. I didn't see the signs. But then again, I didn't know what the signs were, because did those myths look familiar to folks? I mean, how many remember when those myths were gospel? That was gospel, back then. So years later, as I'm learning this, I ask myself from time to time, would I have recognized? In hindsight, yeah, I could recognize them right off. But at the time, if I knew what the signs were, would I have recognized them? Would I have, because of the stigma behind it, would I have asked him the question, are you thinking about killing yourself? Are you thinking about harming yourself? If he would have said yes, would I have validated that experience? Or would I have just done the typical thing and tell him to just suck it up, man? Or you got to be mentally tough. You just got to toughen up. You signed the contract, right? You knew what was involved. And even if I did all that, back in 1993, what resources could I expedite him to that weren't going to be career enders? Recently, an Air Force general posted online so his entire command could see it, his appointment card for his mental health appointment. Try to destigmatize the idea that it's okay to not be okay. None of that. And I'm sure we're looking in the faces of most of you guys in here and folks in here today, that there was none of that kind of thing back then. That was a career ender, right? That's what get thrown out. So that video, it's very simple, isn't it, when we explain like that? That video comes from decades of Bobbies and other folks that we know, where because we didn't understand, didn't know, it failed. It failed, and that's the thing. It's that stigma. When I talk about the number, the 22 a day, in my opinion, is low. It's just that when we know that how we gathered our data for the state of Florida is we went to each county and pulled the death records of folks. And what we found out is that, first of all, when somebody dies, the coroner has to check a box on the death certificate that they're a veteran. The only other person that can check that box is the funeral home, because anybody know why a funeral home can make that change? Because there's benefits. There's benefits involved in it. So it's in their best interest to check that box. So if somebody doesn't tell the doctor or the funeral home to catch it that this was a veteran, then we don't know. Then the second thing is the coroner must check that box saying that the death was by suicide. And unless it's like something very obvious, like a gunshot or something, and even in those cases too, sometimes they are very reluctant to check that box because it may embarrass the family, or was this really it's sometimes hard to. So that's why I think that number is actually underreported because of that. So I think if we get this into the community more and more, and empower folks to be on the lookout. look for the signs, ask the questions, validate the experience, and then, most importantly, because this is what always would freak me out about this, is if I talk to somebody and say, yeah, I'm struggling, man, I need help, what do I do from there? That's why we have our resource guide. So watchstanders can give veterans the help they need before they slip into crisis. You can visit our Veterans Resource Guide. And all of our resources are either no cost or low cost. That's one of the criteria, is that it's either you've got to not charge a veteran for your services, or the cost needs to be very, very low if you have to. Some organizations, that's how they have to stay open. And also, and if you have to charge them, can you get reimbursed from the VA from it? That's what we want. And we've developed our community partners. We also, veterans also call 211, the United Way 211, to speak to a counselor. Again, if it's an immediate crisis, it's always 911 or the Veteran Crisis Line, and that's why on that card, the Veterans Crisis Line's on that card. That's a long number, remember? I'm not good with numbers. I graduated from Andrew Jackson High School in Jacksonville, Florida, and went to the Marine Corps. We were not known for our math feats back in that day. I've heard rumors that they're actually, the Veteran Crisis Line is trying to get like a 3-digit, like the 211 system, but I don't know when that's coming.
Andrew Jackson is a STEM school now too.
It is. I visited. Yeah, we'll talk later because I was shocked when I went in there. So also too now it's about standing watch. You'll be able to print and hang your certificate. It's one of the psych armor courses. Oh, this is what I love too. I carry a laptop with me all the time because it's my job. All the time. So the Firewatch has an app for your phone if you have a smartphone. It's on both the Apple and the Google Play Store for free. It basically replicates our website. Actually, I like searching for resources on our app better because our website resources are categorized. But the one on the app is an A to Z listing, and I can just type, I can Google, I can search bar, and I love doing that as well, because that's kind of the things like you want to help somebody, but you don't know what to do. I don't want to ever have to tell somebody in crisis, hey, can you hold on? Let me go grab my laptop, or can you wait till I get home and I can get to my computer? Then I'll call you back type of deal. I'd rather just go on my phone right there because I carry that with me everywhere as well. Then to be vigilant to the concerns of veterans, which I know, pretty sure the bar on that, right? Then attend 2 or 3 veterans events per year. That's mainly for folks that aren't actively engaged, veterans that aren't actively engaged in the community, and also civilians. And encourage others to join the watch. And then you'll be able to print out your certificate. It's really nice. Window decal, wristband, and the wallet cards as well. So what I'm going to do now, before I open the floor to any questions, I'm going to ask you guys to do a couple of things. First of all, here's what I really want you to do, is I want you to sign that pledge. Because you have to, either way, you've been burdened with the knowledge. I can't unring that bell, right? You've got it. And please include your email address. We'll send you a link to the web portal. So that way you'll be able to go in, you'll be able to access this video and a bunch of other videos as well. Full access to a resource guide, and also the upcoming things that we'll be doing. If you don't feel comfortable putting your home address or receive the things in the mail, just put your post address because we'll send it anywhere to do that. The second thing I want you to do is every one of you got one of my cards. Did anybody not get one of my cards? I will make sure you get it before I'm done. I want you to reach out to me and let me come out and share this with your post. I think the more people we have, like I said, it's all about putting people along that path. Everybody, because like I said, you're going to leave here today, you're going to go back to your homes, your neighborhoods, your churches, your businesses, wherever. I can't be everywhere with you. And the more people we put out in the streets with this knowledge, the chances are we're going to intercept a veteran in crisis. And probably some of you already have stories already of a veteran coming to you in crisis. I want you to do this. Those are the 2 main things I want you to do before I leave. And after the meeting, I'll hang around if you want to ask more. But as right now, I'm looking forward to any questions, comments, smart remarks, metaphysical speculations, anything. God, I love that because that means I did everything perfect. Oh no, I didn't do it perfect. What you got? Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
go ahead.
drinking wine already, so like
No.
feeling confident, but like what kind of veteran events? I think you said like, you know, that we should attend a couple of veteran events per year. Like, what kind of veteran events?
What do y'all got coming? What do y'all got coming up?
Huh?
What do y'all have coming up?
I don't know, I'm asking you.
Well, I know two things the Firewatch did. One is in March, we're gonna do not March. Here soon, we're gonna do an event just for watchstanders, to kind of help connect that community more. Then in September, we're kind of, veteran, Suicide Week is in September. We're planning a whole week of events for that. But it's about getting into, there's veteran events going on all the time. I know like in April, the folks from Operation Barnabas here in Clay County are doing a thing up at the Orange Park Mall that we haven't met yet. Those kind of things, just general veterans events, places where we're not. That is.
So like, I haven't looked at your website yet. I mean, I've been on it before, but like, if you
Yeah.
you could list some of those on the website, just.
We have an events page on
Okay,
our website.
all right.
So if you have, also if you have any events that you guys do, because I know you guys like, I mean, I'll do it. I need to join the leisure folks is what I need to do. Yeah. All right, so, because I know you guys do barbecues. I don't ride motorcycles, so I want a nice big engine between me and whatever I'm about to hit. But I know you guys do a lot of things in the community. It's just stuff like that. It's about being there, being aware. Again, like I said, this is not a legally binding contract. I'm not going to call you up and say, "What's your name?"
Me?
Yes.
Mary.
I want to go. Hey, Mary. How many veterans events did you attend this month? I'm revoking your watchstander. No. It's just these are ideas. So I deal with a lot of veterans sometimes that aren't connected to the organization. They didn't know that there's veteran events going on. You know, other places or businesses especially to support it. So hopefully that answered your question. Anything else? Yes, sir.
I just pulled it up. If you pull it up on your phone, you have to pull up the Firewatch,
Yeah.
not Firewatch.
Yeah, the Firewatch. So somebody had a
No.
question? Okay. I live in Jacksonville off Yellow Bluff Road, if everybody's familiar with that.
That'll be mine.
That's right. And also, Veterans Council in St. Johns County this Thursday, I'm doing this again. Okay, cool. We'll talk. Yeah, I do with them. I'm helping them out with a thing, and yeah, I'm trying to get them on their focus right now on that five-star brand. Right now. But I've been to the Clay County Veterans Council, the Nassau County, Baker County, and I think I've hit every meeting so far, and I plan to do that normally, because this is what I do, this is how I make my living. This is my mission. I am 49 years old, and I'm at the point in my life where I'm tired of tasks, and talking to HR, because I wanted missions. And this opportunity opened up, and this has now become my mission, is to train as many people as possible here in Northeast Florida and the state of Florida to end veteran suicide as well. So one last call, because I know y'all got some business to do.
I'm not sure everyone got a form.
Did everybody get a pledge form? If you did not get one, raise your hand. You have more?
What I could do, I think I'm out.
I can make some.
If somebody can make a copy,
We
or
can
I
make
can tell
copies.
you.
We can make copies. So,
Also,
Is there-
there's a number you can text to sign the pledge to.
is there somebody that has not filled out their form yet? That has not, no, that they have a blank form with them?